Hi everyone, today I am back to present a venue that has recently closed in Manly, the Old Manly Boatshed at number 40, the Corso, Manly. Now, most people know, especially the locals, that the final night was in mid-September this year, just last month, and going by the numerous video clips that have been posted on social media, a lot of people celebrated with song and dance and, emotions obviously ran high. The band, The Breakaways, they actually, said how difficult it was to put into words what the place meant to them. A lot of people are commenting on the Facebook page, just a lot of heartfelt words. So the Breakaways thanked the owner, Burgess, for making magic happen night after night, for giving them a stage and, other bands as well, for keeping the iconic venue alive for so long. It's just been a place that's got this special vibe that is, really hard to kind of replicate. Many have met lifelong friends. Numerous bands have played their first gigs at the Boatshed, and, they were always welcomed back. So it's a really, special place for a lot of people where, stories are just going to continue to be told about the Boaty. And so if you've got any yourself that you'd like to tell me about, put them in the comments. And I will be sort of talking about the bands that played there and a little bit about the history. So how did the Boatshed come about? Well, the year was 1987. Burgess and Grant McKinn, they were friends, and, they kind of came up with the idea while they were on a rugby trip in Hawaii. They kind of had this plan where they wanted to bring something of, the bars that you might find in America to Australia. So that's what they did. They set about building the bar themselves. And I believe initially the venue was 2 levels and a loft. And they had fine dining there, a la carte French Australian cuisine. It started all the way back in 1987, and in fact Goff's teacher John Spate, he actually helped Goff find some jazz artists to perform there. By about 1989, a tunnel had been built inside, so you could actually walk from the restaurant to the below ground room where the bands played. So it was all connected by this kind of maze. There were 3 levels. In fact, Goff describes the pub as this great leveller. It didn't really matter who you were. You could be a rock star, you could be a tourist, you could be a tradie. Everybody kind of, once you walk down those stairs, it was just equal ground for everyone. And I think that's kind of what made the place so special, and it's just what kept people coming back. The food was great, the drinks were great. There was live music sort of 7 nights a week, and I think that might have been a big draw card for the success too of for why the place was so successful, because if you could go out any night of the week and there was always someone playing, and they were always really good artists, so people just kept coming back. The place had real character inside. The walls were filled with this early 20th century Manly type pop culture. There was memorabilia everywhere, like surfboards, old posters, and, stickers from decades of gigs just, everywhere. And as Goff once said, the Boaty is a museum down here, a museum that plays rock and roll. And I think that's probably one of the saddest things that people are going to miss, So look, my vlogs have been really popular, I feel, because of that nostalgia type feeling that you get from, seeing a lot of bands that, when you were young especially. So I do want to mention the bands that played in the late 80s, 90s, and I'm not going to sort of mention all of them because I haven't been able to find all of them. So if I have missed you, please know that it's not intentional. Just put your band's name in the comments and tell us a story. So Yeah, let's start with some bands, including Bachelors from Prague, I think they were from Melbourne, The Bad Lugs, Barry Leaf, Beck Caruana, Belly Dance, Bernie Segedin, The Bondi Cigars, Brad Johns, The Breakaways, Bruce Mathis, Craig Calhoun, Custard, The Chosen Few, Dave Greeny, Dario Bortolan, Dave Mason Cox, Deb Conway, Dave Wilkins, Diesel, and Doug Williams. Now, I will be chatting to Dario in a future vlog soon, so look out for that one. And he'll have a lot to say about the boat shed because he actually performed there for more than 20 years as part of the All Stars house band. With various people like, Peter Northcote, Joel McDonald. So I wanted to show you as well some street press. This is Drum Media, where you can see the place was called the Pig and Whistle. And yeah, bands like the Mighty Reapers. As well, this is another Drum Media where you can see Jeff Duff advertised there, Glenn Rhodes, Kevin Bennett, James Gilliland, and yeah, lots of others. And that's from this particular Drum Media, 1992. That's with the hard eyes on the cover. So let's not forget that, the Boat Shed was also the longest continually running comedy venue in the country. Goff mentioned that the actor Gary Busey from America, he often came knocking at the door because he'd had dinner there once and really liked it. So every time he came to Australia, he'd come back and visit. I also wanted to show you some other not street press, just advertisements. That's Deborah Conway. This one is Ruth Rogers Wright. And this one is Monica and the Moochers, amongst others. So some really old ones. Former Warner Music MD Chris Moss, he says that back in the day, the Boaty was one of a few live venues that were mandatory for breaking new artists. As well, the Boat Shed hosted those long-running Songwriters Live nights where they gave original artists a space to perform, before they hit bigger venues. There were also karaoke nights at the Boat Shed. It was also a regular after-dark venue for those that went to the Manly Jazz Festival. The club also supported the Marlins rugby team, the Sea Eagles, the Manly Surf Club. Often you could find football players there following the grand finals. So a really popular place with lots of people. More bands that I wanted to mention include the Far Gone Beauties, Floyd Vincent, Jeff Atchison, Cameron Daddo, Gianne, Hippos, Ian Moss, Jay Perino, the Johnnies and Van Ruin, Jimmy Barnes played there once, Jeff Duff and Glenn Rhodes, the Jamie Wilson Band, Jackie Ozarski, Kevin Bennett and James Gillard, Kate Lush, and Leonardo's Bride. And Pete Wells, I think, played there once too, from Rose Tattoo, Pete Wells. There are a lot of stories and memories for many people. One interesting one I found was learning that Lane Beachley, our 7 times world champion surfer Lane, she actually worked at the Boat Shed, and not only that, it sort of came to be an important part of her life. It played a massive role because she mentioned that one of her bosses, Grant McKinn, he had a lot of respect for her, and there was one night after work he said to her, look, I know how hard you're working. I know how much you really want to win a world title. I believe in you, and I know you don't have time to earn the extra amount needed, to be able to afford those around the world air tickets. So here's $3,000. Go for it. I found that fantastic. So it just, speaks volumes about, the owners of this venue. So fantastic people. And Lane has said that, she's wondered often, had he not done that, where she would be today. Let's look at some more artists who played at the Boat Shed. Matt Moffat, Melinda Jackson, Mark Williams, the Mighty Reapers, the Matt Roberts Trio, Margaret Earlich, some of the boys from Midnight Oil played there, Mitchell Anderson, Mother Hubbard, Monica and the Moochers, the Percy Owens Jazz Band, the legendary guitarist Peter Northcote, and look, the Rocking Birds and Dario with a lot of musicians have actually performed. Also, one Friday night in June in 2002, Mark Seymour played at the venue. He actually described it as being a bit average, and the audience were a bit average, but overall it was okay because I think they had some technical difficulties on the night. He said the place was packed and the crowd was happy, and the support gig for that night was Kevin Bennett, who, he mentions played on an acoustic guitar and, just played some really heartfelt songs. Finally, the last lot of bands that I wanted to include who played at the Boatshed are the Rattlesnakes, Richard Clapton, the Rose Carleo Band, Ross Wilson, Spencer Jones played there once or twice, Shane Pacey, Susanna Morana, Shauna Jensen, Simon Melly has played there, Slide McBride have played there often, Swanee, Things of Stone and Wood, Touch Follow, Touch Crazy, and I did want to make a big mention to the dear Virginia Lilly, who sadly lost her life. I recently learned that today. She lost her battle with cancer. Very sad. Virginia was just a powerhouse performer. She's been performing all her life. I recently saw her on a Rock the Boat and with her band, and she's been on The Voice, and she's just performed in so many venues and has such a great deal of respect from so many Australian musicians. So rest in peace, dear Virginia. Harry Bruce and a host of other musicians have also played at the Boatshed, and Harry actually said on a Facebook post that he was sad to say farewell to the Boatshed. He had so many great gigs there, and he shows a clip from a few years ago featuring people like Barry Leaf, Rex Go and Kimmy Tooper. Some memories from people. Sean Dunn, he mentions remembering the first years when Slide McBride played there, and mentioned that one night he recalls when Goff burnt his face with flaming Sambuca. Nicola Bainan, she's got an interesting story. She had her wedding night nearby, and they headed to the Boatshed afterwards, and her DJ friend Martin Cousins, he just took over the jukebox, and she recalls dancing on the stage in her wedding dress and being cheered on by the Manly crowd. Sandy Milligan, she recalls drinking passion pop before heading in to the Boatshed, and she's recently turned 60 and just remembers those days fondly on the northern beaches. D Minor and the Discords also played at the Boatshed. I saw a YouTube clip actually of them performing the song Dancing the Night Away, and I think there's others as well. Beck Caruana, she's played at the Boatshed often, and you can actually see her going down the stairs on the final night where, they had their farewell sort of gig. And in fact, if you go onto the Boatshed Facebook page, you'll see quite a lot of gigs and videos that have been uploaded of that last week or so. So clearly, the reaction to the news was pretty big. A lot of locals shared memories online. Even Goff left a really heartfelt message. Sadly, I've been unable to contact Goff, and I know that there must be a sense of sadness that is, going to take a while. So I'm sure that in time the memories will be so fantastic, and the pride of having such an iconic venue, fantastic. I hope that we can all look back and just remember all the good times, because that's what it's all about, really. So, whatever happened to the Boatshed, it's no longer there. I understand that they may be turning it into something else. I'm not sure what the reasons are. I have a sneaking suspicion it's got to do with perhaps greed and just a lack of interest in live music. I'm not sure. So look, the stories obviously will keep going, when people say remember the Boaty. yeah, there will be lots of great memories. So if you've got some, please put them in the comments. I'd be, happy to hear from you. So yeah, look, the costs involved in keeping venues open are obviously high. I know the licenses, the rent, regulations, competition, there's been COVID aftershocks. So lots and lots of reasons. The insurances, liability insurances. After COVID, apparently 1,300 venues did close, and I know that crowds did almost halve. So look, lots of reasons, but I think we're not going to focus on that. I think we should focus on the positives where there are still venues around, in Sydney in particular. When I look at my street press, I notice that the Metro in George Street has been going forever. So look, as long as we've got venues like that, sort of scattered here, there and everywhere, I think we'll be okay. And I know that these days we're getting a lot of help now from the government. It never happened in the past, but I know APRA, AMCOS and Sounds Australia and Creative Australia and all these sort of groups are really trying to make a difference and keep the industry alive. It is very digital now. You can reach global audiences a lot quicker, which is a positive. Less money is needed in that sense. But look, the venues are still there. It's more up to the audiences to kind of go. We've got a lot more options where young people kind of have other things that they want to do. But yeah, I really encourage you, if you've got kids or grandkids, just get them to go out occasionally and see a live music performance, because we've got some fantastic talent in this country. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this particular vlog. Don't forget, hit like and subscribe, and just tune in for more interesting and exciting live music vlogs in the future. Cheers.
What